February 14th, 1995, 11:47 p.m. Caesars Palace, Las Vegas. The dealer slides 2 cards across the green felt. Jeff Ma doesn't look at them. Not yet. Because right now, 3 pit bosses are standing 12 feet behind him. He can feel their eyes drilling into the back of his skull. The surveillance camera in the ceiling, the one disguised as a smoke detector, just rotated 15 degrees to the left, toward him. His hands are steady as he finally glances down. Jack of spades, ace of diamonds, blackjack. The table erupts. An elderly woman in a sequin dress claps. A drunk hedge fund manager slaps him on the back. But Jeff doesn't smile, because he knows something they don't. This isn't luck. The count is plus 17. True count of 8. He's been waiting for this shoe for 45 minutes, nursing $25 bets while a teammate across the casino floor tracked every card that hit the felt. The signal came 4 minutes ago. A scratch of the left ear. Walk to table 7. Now. So he walked, sat down, and placed $10,000 in black chips on a single hand. Now he's up $47,000 in 11 minutes. And those pit bosses are reaching for their radios. Jeff's heart rate spikes to 142 beats per minute. But his face? His face shows nothing but the dopey grin of a lucky tourist from Boston. He has to. Because if they figure out who he really is, what he really is, everything falls apart. The dealer begins the next shoe. Security is 30 seconds from the table. The count resets to 0. And Jeff Ma, 22 years old, MIT class of 1994, has exactly one more hand to win before he disappears into the crowd. How did a group of college students turn a statistics class into the most sophisticated casino heist in history? It started with a man who refused to believe the house always wins. Bill Kaplan was never supposed to be a gambler. Born in 1953 in Chicago, Illinois, he was the kind of kid who read probability textbooks for fun. His father was a successful businessman. His mother expected him to follow the safe path. Good grades, good college, good career. And he did, mostly. Kaplan graduated from Harvard University in 1975, magna cum laude. He was accepted into Harvard Business School immediately after. The future was clear: consulting, finance, corner office, retirement. But during his gap year before business school, something happened. Kaplan read Beat the Dealer by Edward Thorp. Published in 1962, this book proved mathematically, with rigorous statistical analysis, that blackjack could be beaten. Card counting wasn't cheating, it was applied mathematics. And if you did it right, the casino's edge could be reversed. The house doesn't always win. Most people read that book and said, interesting. Kaplan read it and said, opportunity. He spent the summer of 1977 studying every card counting system ever published. He analyzed thousands of simulated hands. He calculated the exact statistical advantage of each betting strategy. Then he did something unusual. He drove to Las Vegas with $1,000 of his own money. Not to gamble, to test. Kaplan sat at low-stakes tables for 16 hours a day. He counted cards. He tracked his results. He refined his technique. After 35 days, his $1,000 had become $35,000. $35,000. A 3,400% return in just over a month. But Kaplan wasn't satisfied, because he'd realized something crucial during those 35 days in the desert heat. Card counting alone wasn't enough. The math was perfect, but the execution was flawed. The problem was variance, short-term luck. Even with a 2% edge, you could lose 10 hands in a row. Your bankroll could swing wildly. And casinos were watching. One person, betting big, counting cards, they'd spot you within hours. Kaplan needed scale. He needed capital. He needed camouflage. He needed a team. New Year's Eve, 1979, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Bill Kaplan walked into a party full of MIT graduate students. The conversation was typical: research grants, thesis deadlines, who was dating whom. Then he met J.P. Masser. Masser was a mechanical engineering student with a problem. He'd been running a small blackjack team with fellow MIT students for almost a year. They had the math. They had smart people. But they were losing money. "We're doing everything right," Masser told Kaplan. The counting, the betting, the strategy. But we're down almost $10,000. Kaplan listened. Then he asked one question. Show me your records. Masser blinked. Records? Hourly logs, win rates per dealer, heat level per casino, bankroll management spreadsheets. Silence, because there were no records. Just a group of brilliant students who thought intelligence alone would beat Vegas. Kaplan shook his head. You're not running a blackjack team, you're running a gambling club. That night, over cheap beer in a Cambridge apartment, Kaplan laid out his vision. They wouldn't just count cards, they would build a system. Rigorous training programs, standardized techniques, detailed record keeping, statistical analysis of every session, optimal bankroll allocation, and most importantly, specialization. Not everyone would do everything. Some players would count, some would bet big, some would spot. Each role would be perfected. It would run like a hedge fund, like a business, like a machine designed to extract money from casinos. Masser was skeptical, so were his teammates. Then Kaplan showed them his records from Las Vegas, $5,000 from $1,000, in 35 days, with documentation for every single session. The room went quiet. 2 weeks later, they formed Strategic Investments LP. Initial capital, $89,000 from student investors. The MIT Blackjack team was born. The plan was elegant and terrifying in its precision. First, the mathematics. Blackjack is the only casino game where past events affect future outcomes. In roulette, every spin is independent. In craps, every roll is fresh. But in blackjack, cards are dealt from a finite shoe, usually 6 or 8 decks shuffled together. And cards that have been played don't come back until the shuffle. This creates opportunity. The high-low counting system works like this. Every card from 2 through 6 is worth +1. Every card from 7 through 9 is worth 0. Every 10, Jack, Queen, King, and Ace is worth -1. As cards are dealt, you keep a running count in your head. When the count is high, meaning many low cards have been played, the remaining shoe is rich in 10s and aces. This favors the player. Blackjacks become more common. The dealer busts more often on hard hands. The player's edge can swing from -0.5% to +2% or higher. At a count of +8 or above, the advantage is significant. At +15 or above, it's like stealing. But here's the problem. If you sit at a table that's small during negative counts, then suddenly bet huge when the count spikes. The casino notices. The pit boss walks over. Security reviews the tape. You get backed off, politely asked to leave, or worse. This is where Kaplan's system became revolutionary. He didn't use one player. He used teams. The big player system. Here's how it worked. Spotters sat at tables across the casino floor. They played minimum bets, $5 or $10, all night. They counted every card. They chatted with dealers. They looked like regular tourists, but they were watching, waiting, counting. When the count reached the target threshold, usually +15 or higher, the spotter would give a signal. The signals were invisible to anyone who didn't know them. A chip placed on top of cards instead of beside them. Count is hot. Hands flat on the table. Come now. A drink lifted with the left hand. Abort. Heat detected. Scratching the left ear. Table 7 is ready. Gorillas were the muscle. Big bettors who walked the floor, waiting for signals. They didn't count. They didn't need to. Their only job was to bet massive amounts when spotters indicated a hot shoe. A gorilla would walk up to a table, sit down, bet $10,000 on his first hand, win or lose a few rounds, then leave. To casino surveillance, he looked like a drunk whale with more money than sense. They never suspected he was playing mathematically perfect strategy. Big players were the elite. They could count and bet big. They could read the table, adjust to dealer speed, and manage heat from pit bosses. The best big players could maintain a count while simultaneously playing a character. The arrogant businessman, the naive tourist, the superstitious gambler. The personas were detailed, backstories, accents, fake IDs. A big player named Semyon Dukach played the darling of the casinos, a reckless Russian immigrant who seemed to lose more than he won. Casinos loved him. They didn't realize he was up $400,000 over 2 years. Training. Every team member went through rigorous testing. First, they had to master basic strategy, the mathematically optimal play for every possible hand combination. This alone reduces the house edge from 2 to 5% to just 0.5%. Then, counting. They practiced with flashcards, with decks of cards dealt at casino speed, with distractions, music playing, people talking, chips clattering. The standard: count down a full deck in under 25 seconds. Perfectly. Then, casino simulation. The team rented hotel suites and built mock casino floors. Real tables, real chips, real conditions. Trainers played the role of pit bosses, watching for tells. Can you maintain the count while a dealer talks to you? Can you signal without looking at your teammate? Can you lose $5,000 in 10 minutes and show no emotion? Most MIT students failed. The acceptance rate was under 10%. Those who passed became part of the most profitable gambling operation in history: bankroll management. This was Kaplan's secret weapon. Every session was documented, every casino rated by heat level, every player tracked by win rate. The bankroll was managed like an investment portfolio. Never risk more than 2% of total capital on a single hand. Adjust bet sizing based on current count and remaining bankroll. Track standard deviation units to measure true performance versus luck. Rotate players to avoid recognition. They ran Monte Carlo simulations to calculate optimal trip lengths. They knew exactly when to quit, when to push, when to disappear. The numbers were beautiful. Between 1980 and 1993, strategic investments generated returns averaging 154% per year. By 1984, the original $89,000 had grown to over $350,000. But that was just the beginning. Because in 1992, a new generation of players joined the team, and they were about to take it to a level even Kaplan hadn't imagined. If you're finding this story as unbelievable as I did when I first researched it, a group of college students using pure mathematics to steal millions from the most sophisticated surveillance operations on Earth, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Because what happens next makes the planning phase look like the easy part. The casinos were about to fight back, and they had resources the students couldn't imagine. September 1994, Boston Logan Airport, 6 a.m. 12 MIT students board a flight to Las Vegas. They don't sit together. They don't acknowledge each other. To anyone watching, they're strangers. 3 are spotters, 4 are big players, 2 are gorillas, 3 are cool players, fresh faces with no casino history. Their carry-on bags contain $1.2 million in cash, divided into amounts just under the $10,000 reporting threshold. Rubber-banded stacks hidden in textbooks, laptop bags, and toiletry kits. Jeff Ma sits in row 14, window seat. He's 23 years old. He graduated from MIT with a degree in mechanical engineering 6 months ago. He's been counting cards for 2 years. His alias for this trip, Kevin Lewis. Backstory: trust fund kid from San Diego whose father owns a chain of car dealerships. Likes to gamble big and tip bigger. He's wearing a Rolex he bought at a pawn shop for $2,400. The persona requires it. The plane lands at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. By 10 a.m., spotters are in position at 7 different casinos on the Strip. Friday night. Tropicana Hotel and Casino, 11:15 p.m. Spotter Jenny, a 21-year-old physics major, has been nursing Diet Colas for 3 hours at table 12. The count is negative. She's down $175 on minimum bets. At 11:22 p.m., the shoe turns. The dealer pulls 4 low cards in a row, then 3 more. The running count climbs to +9. With 2 decks remaining, the true count hits +4. Jenny places her chip stack on top of her cards. Across the floor, Mike Aponte sees the signal. He's been playing a slot machine near the exit, losing $20 in quarters, part of the cover. He walks to table 12, casual, confident. Room for one more? He flashes a grin at the dealer. He sits down, places $8,000 in purple chips on the betting circle. The pit boss notices. How could he not? But big bettors aren't unusual on a Friday night. The Tropicana welcomes whales. The count is +18 by Mike's 4th hand. He's betting $15,000 per hand now, the maximum. He wins 7 of the next 9 hands. At 11:47 p.m., the shoe ends. The dealer shuffles. Mike stands up, tips the dealer $500, walks to the cage, cashes out $142,000 in chips. Elapsed time at table, 25 minutes. Net profit, $67,000. Mike disappears into a cab. Jenny stays another hour, losing $200 to maintain cover. They won't see each other again until the debrief on Sunday. Saturday afternoon, MGM Grand, 3 p.m. Jeff Ma walks through the casino floor wearing a loud Hawaiian shirt and carrying a half-empty margarita. His alias, Kevin Lewis, is having a birthday weekend. He's already up $23,000 from a morning session at the Mirage. A spotter at table 31 touches her left earlobe. Jeff changes direction, seemingly distracted by a cocktail waitress. He arrives at the table 2 minutes later. "Is this seat taken?" He gestures with his drink, spilling a little on the felt. The dealer sighs. Tourists. The count is plus 21, true count of 7. The best shoe Jeff has seen in 6 months. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a brick of cash. 20,000. All black chips, please. The pit boss walks over, studies Jeff's face, checks his player card, a fake, registered to Kevin Lewis, San Diego. "Having a good trip, Mr. Lewis?" Jeff grins. "Birthday weekend, man. My dad said I could go crazy." The pit boss nods. Rich kid. They've seen 1,000 of them. Jeff places his first bet, $10,000. The dealer gives him a 14 against a 6. Basic strategy says stand. The dealer will likely bust. But Jeff knows something else. The count is so high that the probability of a 10 coming next is astronomical. If he hits, he'll bust. If he stands, the dealer will almost certainly draw a small card, then a 10, busting. He stands. The table holds its breath. Dealer flips. 6 showing. Whole card is 5, 11 total. Dealer draws. 10 of hearts. 21. Jeff loses $10,000 in one hand. He doesn't flinch. "Damn. Shuffle up the deck, right?" Haha. He laughs. Orders another drink. Because he knows the math. Short-term variance means nothing. Over thousands of hands, the edge will win. He plays for another 40 minutes. At 3:47 p.m., he cashes out $89,000. Net profit from the session, $69,000. Saturday night. The team is scattered across 8 casinos. Communication is impossible. Each player operates alone, trusting the system. Semyon Dukak is at the Bellagio, playing his Russian persona. He's been losing publicly for hours. Dramatic sighs, theatrical cursing, appeals to superstition. The pit bosses love him. What they don't see, he's up $54,000 on the night. The losses are carefully staged at negative count tables. The wins happen during hot shoes, when no one's watching closely. By midnight, the team has collectively won $312,000. But they're not done. Sunday morning, Caesar's Palace, 4 a.m. The graveyard shift, skeleton crew, tired dealers, minimal surveillance attention. This is prime hunting time. 3 spotters have been tracking tables for 2 hours. At 4:17 a.m., one of them signals, "Table 4, shoe is volcanic." The count is plus 27, the highest anyone on the team has ever seen. Mike Aponte gets the call. He's in a hotel room at the Flamingo, catching 2 hours of sleep. He's at Caesars by 4:35 a.m. The count is still plus 19. Good enough. He sits down, places $20,000 on his first hand. The pit boss raises an eyebrow, but doesn't intervene. Caesars has seen bigger bets at 4 a.m. Mike wins the first hand, then the second, then the third. By 4:52 a.m., he's up $78,000. Then the shoe ends. The dealer shuffles, and the pit boss makes a phone call. The debrief, Sunday afternoon. A hotel suite at the Venetian, rented under a fake name. 12 exhausted students spread across beds and chairs. Chips are counted. Records are compared. Stories are shared. Total profit for the weekend, $487,000. Minus expenses, flights, hotels, tips, cover losses, fake IDs. Net profit, approximately $420,000. Split according to the partnership agreement. Investors get 70%. Players split 30% based on hours and performance. Jeff Ma's share, $31,000 for 3 days of work. He's 23 years old. His friends from MIT are making $45,000 a year as entry-level engineers. He made $31,000 in a weekend. The team runs similar operations every month for the next 2 years. By early 1997, total profits exceed $5 million. But the casinos aren't stupid. They're watching, they're learning, and they're about to strike back. Griffin Investigations was the casino industry's secret weapon. Founded in 1967 by Beverly Griffin, this private detective agency specialized in one thing: identifying advantage players and cheaters. They maintained a database of known card counters, their photos, their aliases, their techniques. The Griffin Book, a 3-ring binder, updated quarterly, distributed to casino surveillance departments across the country. If your face appeared in that book, your gambling career was over. By 1995, Griffin had noticed a pattern. Young players, early 20s, appeared at multiple casinos in Las Vegas, Atlantic City, and tribal casinos. One consistently never showed signs of intoxication despite appearing drunk. Used similar betting patterns. Their analysts ran the data. The probability of this many young players winning this consistently by chance? Less than 1 in 10 million. Griffin began building files. February 1997, the Stardust Casino, 9:30 p.m. Jeff Ma sits down at a blackjack table. His spotter has signaled a count of plus 14. He places his bet, $5,000. Within 30 seconds, 3 security officers surround him. "Mr. Ma, we're going to need you to come with us." Jeff freezes. They used his real name, not Kevin Lewis, his real name. They escort him to a back room. Gray walls, 1 table, 2 chairs, a security camera in the corner. A man in a suit opens a folder. Inside, 8 photographs of Jeff Ma at different casinos. Dates and times documented. A summary of his estimated winnings, $243,000 over 18 months. "You're in the Griffin Book, Mr. Ma. You're done in Las Vegas." Jeff says nothing. He knows his rights. Card counting isn't illegal. They can't arrest him, but they can ban him from every casino that subscribes to Griffin's service, which is almost all of them. Over the next 6 months, the dominoes fall. March 1997. Mike Aponte is identified at the MGM Grand, banned from all MGM properties. April 1997. Semyon Dukach's Russian persona is exposed. His picture appears in the Griffin Book with a detailed profile. May 1997. A spotter named Jane is detained at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. She's a 22-year-old mathematics PhD student. She breaks down crying in the security room. The team scrambles. They rotate to international casinos, Monte Carlo, London, Macau. But Griffin's network is global. The files follow them. They experiment with disguises, wigs, contact lenses, prosthetic noses. For a while, it works. Then facial recognition technology improves. By 1998, major casinos are scanning faces at entrances, matching them against the Griffin database in real time. A player can be identified within seconds of walking through the door. The edge is disappearing. But the technology wasn't what killed the MIT blackjack team. It was something far more human: greed. As the core players got burned out or banned, new investors demanded faster returns. Recruitment standards dropped. Players who hadn't completed full training were sent to casinos. They made mistakes, got caught, made the heat worse for everyone. Then came the money disputes. In 1999, a faction of players accused the management team of skimming profits. Allegations flew. Lawsuits were threatened. The partnership agreement, the sacred document that had held the team together for almost 2 decades, began to fracture. Some players went independent. They took the techniques and started their own teams. They competed for the same tables. They burned each other's covers. By 2000, the MIT blackjack team as an organized entity had effectively ceased to exist. The casinos hadn't beaten them with technology. They'd beaten themselves with the oldest weakness in gambling history: the inability to walk away from the table while you're ahead. The numbers tell part of the story. Between 1979 and 2000, various incarnations of the MIT Blackjack team won an estimated $10 million from casinos worldwide. Some estimates go higher, $22 million if you include independent operations run by former team members. But what happened to the people? Bill Kaplan stepped away from active play in the early 1990s. He founded several technology companies, including a startup that pioneered online poker. He rarely speaks publicly about the team, but maintains it was always about the mathematics, not the money. He's currently a venture capitalist in Boston. Estimated net worth? Undisclosed, but comfortable. Jeff Ma became the public face of the story. He wrote about his experiences, which were adapted into the book Bringing Down the House by Ben Mesrich in 2002. The book sold over 2.5 million copies. In 2008, the story became the movie 21, starring Kevin Spacey and Jim Sturgis. Jeff received a reported $1 million for the film rights. He went on to found several companies, including a sports analytics firm and a predictive technology startup. He's a frequent speaker on probability, risk, and decision-making. He's never played blackjack professionally again. Mike Aponte left the team in 1999 after the internal disputes. He won the World Series of Blackjack in 2004, an ironic victory for someone who spent years avoiding public attention. He now runs a training company that teaches card counting to hobbyists. He's open about his past. "I don't regret any of it," he said in a 2019 interview. "But I also don't romanticize it. It was work, hard work, and it had a shelf life." Semyon Dukac became a venture capitalist, founding a startup accelerator in Boston. He's invested in over 200 companies. When asked about the blackjack years, he's philosophical. "We thought we were gaming the system, but the system always adapts. The house doesn't need to win every hand. It just needs to survive longer than you do." Griffin Investigations, ironically, filed for bankruptcy in 2005. After losing a defamation lawsuit brought by two professional blackjack players who claimed they'd been wrongly accused of cheating. The Griffin book still exists, but its influence has waned. Modern casinos rely on proprietary AI systems that can identify advantage players within minutes based on betting patterns alone. Card counting isn't dead, but the golden age, the era when smart kids from MIT could walk into a casino and walk out millionaires, is over. The math still works, but the game has changed. There's a question that haunted every member of the MIT blackjack team. Why did we do it? The easy answer is money, of course. $10 million isn't nothing, but most of these players had MIT degrees. They could have made six figures in legitimate careers, safe careers, careers that didn't require fake identities and constant surveillance anxiety. So why risk everything to beat a casino? Jeff Ma once tried to explain it. It wasn't about the money, not really. It was about the proof. The proof that the world could be understood, that probability wasn't mystical, that the house edge, this thing that everyone believed was unbeatable, was actually just a math problem, and math problems have solutions. There's something deeply American about that idea. The belief that intelligence can overcome any obstacle, that systems designed to take your money can be reverse engineered by sufficiently clever people, that the little guy, armed with nothing but knowledge, can beat the giant. But here's what the MIT blackjack team learned the hard way. The giant adapts. Casinos didn't collapse when card counting was invented. They changed the rules. They added decks. They shuffled earlier. They built surveillance systems. They hired mathematicians of their own. And eventually, they won. Not every hand, but they won the only hand that mattered. They outlasted the players. The team made millions, but the casinos made billions. They're still making billions. The edge, the mathematical advantage that promised so much, was always temporary. Because in the end, the house doesn't need to beat probability. It just needs to beat time. And if you want to see what happens when someone tries to beat a different kind of system, a prison that was supposed to be escape-proof, watch the video on El Chapo's tunnel networks. Because the engineering involved makes card counting look like arithmetic. And the twist at the end? It'll make you question who was really in control the whole time.